All right, we are recording for chapter 16? 16, yes. Um, I actually don't have many notes, but a lot does happen. I guess it's just enough that I don't need specific notes for. Excuse me. So the bulk of the chapter actually does not take place at the camp. It's instead he has traveled down into Birkenwald to finally see about meeting the optician who is I remember him being the primary point of contact with the underground. Maybe that will still be the case, but I also may have misremembered because we don't just meet him. By the way, his name is Jan, and he is he is actually Polish. But before that, one thing that I do very much remember from the story, even after all these years, because it is an important moment for actually multiple reasons. One is definitely in the story. Another is certain realities of war, and I don't mean that some people would say realities of war. You're talking about something really negative. No, this is not negative. It's not positive either. So, in order to get to Birkenwald, he has to take the bus, and he obviously has a guard there. And this is actually, let me check because it's right at the beginning. It's I'm actually not sure if this would be his first time making such a trip into Birkenwald. But one thing that is kind of funny is he basically just decides he wants to go, so they go. The guard just assumed that he had gotten permission because he says that I think there's something wrong with my eyes. I want to see the optician there, and he's like, "Yeah, you probably already talked to the medical officer and got permission." Anyway, so they're on the train, on the bus there. And quite understandably, none of the German citizens are too happy to see him there. He describes he's sitting next to one large woman who is doing her best to try to squeeze him out of the seat. But there's also a much younger woman there who has basically been glaring at him the entire time he's been there. And when finally getting up to leave the bus, she actually spits at him. And he returned the compliment promptly in Anglo-Saxon and made to get to his feet, but the hand of the guard restrained him. Now, you might be thinking this is a dude, no, you take that. No, that's not what's happening. To his surprise, the big German private appeared to take the incident very much to heart. Seizing the girl by the wrist, he delivered a heated lecture on good manners and the decent treatment of prisoners of war. In this he was joined by the two other soldiers who had been indignant spectators of the girl's conduct. There's a little more to read, but after she finally does leave, still angry and in a huff, he actually gives cigarettes to all the soldiers, which it also makes a point of losing no opportunity of impressing on the severely rationed German population the superior conditions of British prisoners. Technically, that's not the reality I want to talk about. But technically, it would be a reality that the POWs are not necessarily getting good food from the Germans, but Red Cross parcels are coming to them. So and that's how he has the cigarettes. But there is that certain reality that it is possible a POW could be living better in certain ways. Yes, they are still incarcerated and not being treated very well, but in some ways they may have those materials such as cigarettes, even soap, which comes up later, that the populace does not. So anyway, thanks, Fritz, he said to the guard. That was decent of you. The soldier shrugged and intimated that slips of girls could never get it into their stupid heads that the British were fighting men too, and that in any case, German brothers and husbands were held captive in England and in a similar plight. So I'm just getting to the end of the chapter. So basically, how I always remember that, it kind of combining with other things, but it's the idea that no, you still treat them with respect. You don't do that because, as it says, you have brothers and husbands that are in the same situation. Do you want them treated that badly? And there is also an element of you don't mess with my prisoner. I'm sure there, but it is at this point, and it's also like the guard is even described by Coward and by the optician. It's not being a bad guy. I mean, it's, yeah, he's a German guard here, but that doesn't make him inhuman. So it's possible he's like, it wasn't this one, it was another one where there was a guard on a train telling him about how he wants the war to end as soon as possible as well. Now, let me be clear. You can be a soldier, have that feeling, and yet will never betray your country. And there's nothing wrong with that. That is how it works for plenty of people. That until they surrender, you keep fighting. But it still is, this moment is impactful because of the whole Coward now is also thinking about, okay, this is something I might be able to work with. And indeed, he does a little later, slipping him a pack of cigarettes in order to, because of something the optician told him to try to do, and it's like slipping this to him, so it's like, yeah, can we have a detour? Sure, why not? But still is, as I said, a certain reality of war that you do still want POWs treated with respect. It's like you don't want that spitting because it brothers and husbands and sons as well, that wouldn't be relevant. This woman would be too young for that, but to be a mother. But it's you can hate them, but you need to show them respect, because why should the other guy show them respect to your family members? So yeah, and it is something that certainly it would make sense that even the POW guards would be especially attuned to that. That it's because it's like they are people that could potentially become POWs themselves. And it's like, if they weren't assigned to this, they could be on the front lines, being captured, being killed, or being captured and then being POWs. So yeah. Anyway, so he meets the optician, who initially plays a little dumb. As far as like not acknowledging that he knows English. But this is mainly because Coward's being stupid, and it's like, yeah, sure, potentially Fritz here, the guard, does know some English, but it's like, no, when we're in the back room is when we can talk, and we should still be quiet. But after the exam, he's like, there's nothing wrong with your eyes, Sergeant Major. Oh, you do speak English? Yeah, but not around that dude. What's wrong with you? It doesn't quite go that way, but yeah. So then they talk, and Coward is being a bit too forward. Where the photographer, who, I think I'd already said he is Polish. His name is Jan. Jan is not like gonna confirm anything, because just in case. And it's like, and Coward's like, don't worry, you look into me. You can ask plenty of people. I hate the Germans. They hate me. We can be friends here. So yeah, it will work out, but Jan is being cautious, while Coward should be more so than he is. But he tells him, come back in 2 weeks for the special glasses I'll be making up for you. He doesn't actually need the glasses, but say, yes, 2 weeks, I'll see you. Then he also suggests, go see a photographer that I know. Have him take a picture, or take pictures of the POWs. I'm sure your ladies back home will enjoy that. So what he's actually doing here is basically saying, that's another contact for you to make. Go do that. Here's a reason why that the guard will accept. So go do that, talk to him, or rather, it ends up being her. He only talks to the wife, at least within this chapter. Yeah, do that. But it is also, the guy makes one, because Coward asks about more polishing rags, all he can get, and Jan is like, those are in short supply. So, and a lot of people are asking for them, so that's not going to happen. But still, see me in 2 weeks. So, goes to the photographer, who he's initially hesitant about, because the dude's wealthy. So he does a lot of work for the Germans. And it's like, oh crap, have I just been set up? No, you haven't. In fact, they are Polish as well, and the wife at one point even says that they are patriots. So, and it's like, there's a double meaning here. So if the guard is here, it's like, the patriots, good. That means, we can trust them. But Coward's like, well, but you're Polish. You don't like the Germans, so it's like you are helping me. But yeah, he meets the wife and it is kind of funny. And I did misremember something. The Jan is described, the optician is described as, though not necessarily looking old, he already has gray hair, and he is shorter than he actually is because he's got a permanent stoop to him. I associated the wife as being his. No, the wife of the photographer. We haven't met the photographer yet, and she is described as quite attractive, which really frustrates Coward. Especially because they do have to get close with some of the discussions. And anyway, but she is like, yeah, we were expecting you. Oh yeah, that's right. He probably called ahead to let him know, and then it's like, yeah, come back in 2 days to talk. And it's like, they're taking a couple days to figure out who I am, to make sure that I can be trusted. Yeah, come back in 2 days to arrange the photo. And as far as payment, because it's one of those things, I'm POW, I don't have money. And that's when she says, we're patriots, and we only do the work for money? We only work for money sometimes? Sergeant Major, my husband and I are patriots and take only money for our work. He caught the double meaning but tried again. Still, if you'd like a few cakes of soap. Her eyes softened. Soap was to her an unheard of luxury, used as she was to the ration issue of Bailey disguised pumice. That'd be very kind. Is the response. So it's like, yeah, they are bartering there. But yeah, the double meaning of the patriot thing was like Polish, and I can assume the whole we only take money for our work might be yeah, that's what the Germans have to pay us. This isn't going to be work with you, for you. Yeah, now as I recall, they are both part of the underground, so the Polish underground, technically. I don't remember if Auschwitz is actually, because it's one of those things where actually a number of the death camps are actually technically within the boundary of Poland, but it's one of those that, I mean, some of it was prior to, like, from World War One. Some of the facilities had initially existed then, so borders were different. And also, don't forget, Germany invaded Poland fairly early on, so it was like occupy Poland. So, because that's one thing I'm pretty sure that there are some Poles that really don't like acknowledging that. But it's one of those like unfortunate aspects of history where it's like, well, we're not saying that they're Polish. We're just saying that they're there because that's where the Germans put them. I mean, I can understand sensitivity. Don't get me wrong, but it is like, I understand the sensitivity to make sure people understand. No, they weren't Polish death camps. They would, unless they were death camps for Polish people. But they weren't Polish death camps. They just Germany put them there, put some of them there. Anyhow, and it does come up later, and I don't mind mentioning this. At some point, she at least is actually interrogated by Gestapo or SS. I don't remember which. And it is mentioned, I think Coward even mentions the whole that he's actually concerned that she would break, and she doesn't, despite that, because he does see her shortly after, where like she had come back from being interrogated and can see where the cigarette burns were on her body, or at least some of them. And yet, despite that, no, she did not divulge any information. So yes, she is a very impressive lady. So anyway, after that, so it's like he's got to come back in 2 weeks for Jan. He's got to come back in 2 days for the photographer. But now he heads back to Monowitz, and the German in charge, he comes up. And I'm not sure if this is actually the guy who murdered the POW in the previous chapter. It might be, and he's not been dealt with yet. I'm not sure, because there is he wants some cooperation, is willing to offer some privileges, and Coward does make a remark about not getting another bullet to the gut, or to the chest. So he could be making a joke at the guy who did that. I'm not certain, because I'm not sure how much time has passed. In theory, though, it could have been short enough that that letter that he wrote that would expose him, that reports the incident, might not have made it all the way through to have anything happen. Anyway, initially, Coward's like, no, we're not going to do special work for you. But then it's like, what is this work? I mean, he's going to hear him out. It's not like, what is it? But just internally, Cow's like, no, we're not going to do this. But the guy is like, what is it? What special favors can there be? We want you to work on some of the wagons at the station. Coward's like, okay. We can do this. How long will this last? Indefinitely. Okay. Coward, walk out. Was like, it's not gonna be indefinite, because the particular station, as in train station, train yard, is one that it is mentioned serves. It's large. It serves Poland. It serves the Russian front. It serves the Italian front. And they want POWs working there. He's gonna have some fun. In the movies, I recall they show him like swapping tags on them. So things destined for the Russian front are going to Italy. Things destined for Italy are going to the Russian front. I think there's at one point even a reference in the movie, I don't remember if it's in the book or not, of like changing the cards so food end up going to, like the food meant for the front actually ends up going to a town that would be in need of it, or even a camp. But yeah, they have some fun. They also do some other bits of sabotage. In the movie, I remember it depicts like they cause a derailment, and that he uses to then run off and do some stuff. As I recall, the derailment might happen in the book, but like in the movie, it then leads to an escape attempt. That's not what happens. It might be he does that so that he can get away for a time and like get some stuff without a guard observing. I don't remember. We'll find out, but it is definitely he ends up. Excuse me. Why would you put POWs in a train yard? Oh my god, that's a really bad idea. That really is. But it's also when the whole thing, they're desperate. That they are running out of people. And like how it mentions even on the bus ride in, it's all on the bus, old men and women. Women of whatever age, because that's all that are there. All the young men have been taken away to military service, to military duty, and it's that's that's seems desperate to me. What the hell do I know, to be fair? But because for some of the work involved that has to go on there, a young man is going to have a better chance of doing that. Might actually contribute more to a war effort being a farmer than going off and being a soldier. But if you need soldiers desperately, then that's what you're doing. So yeah, I could believe that it's already happening at that point, that it is we're conscripting everyone. Because that's also part of it, is conscripts, so they're forced to be soldiers versus, and this is one thing that I'm pretty sure I've seen stated by people, even if not, it still is it makes sense for part of the reason why the American military is as effective as it very often is against others, is it's a voluntary force. Yes, we do have the draft. I had to register for the draft. I'm pretty sure I'm now aged out of that. I could be wrong, but it still is, without the draft being active, it's a completely voluntary force. These are people that is what they're choosing to do with their life, and so that helps with training. Also, we do various other things, like the most experienced people we will actually take out of service, like frontline service, to have them training, so they pass that down. Whereas in other places, the emphasis isn't on the training partly because conscripts are also start thinking. So instead, it's no, the most experienced people they're putting on the front. So that's how they're, because that way the best people are there fighting, trying to do it. It's as opposed to creating more great fighters. I remember seeing some stuff talking about how that was one issue that Japan ran into in the Pacific Theater, that they had a lot of their best pilots out there flying, not teaching the new pilots coming in how to fly. So once America, once we scored some victories against their air force, they were exhausted. Their talent was very exhausted, so they were relying now on just pilots that got that like can get the plane up, but aren't necessarily great pilots. So yeah, it coming back to this. It is possible that Germany's already at that point of desperation of just getting all the able-bodied men they can. So, and it is to me. Again, coming back to it, I see that it's kind of desperate that if you are taking them out of the towns where they would also be farmers, which would definitely be, to the war effort. Yeah, that seems desperate. And to be clear, because yes, Rosie the Riveter, very real thing, but it still is. I could believe that. Well, on average, a man is going to have an easier time with some of that hard manual labor than an average woman would. So, yeah, it is just having some around to continue doing that can be very, very valuable. Plus, I can see being helpful with morale as well to make sure that you still have some men around, some young men around doing various things. So, try to keep some normal life. So, yeah. I probably talked enough on that side, enough stupid things as well. I do want to quickly see what is chapter 17. Okay, yeah, it does look like it is. Yep, it just gets straight into they are at the train yard doing their thing. I mean, see, this is also what I mean by having. They were so. It seems like they were desperate enough to take people out of the train yards. It's like this is a huge, huge logistical point, and they're putting POWs there. I mean, it's like I could okay. To me, it would seem like if you take the men out of that, so that's where they're working. They know their work. If you take them out, I would be like, okay, so you're putting them through basic training, giving them guns so they can defend that place, but you're putting them right back, right? You're not putting them on the front because you need that. It's like, no, we're putting them on the front. We'll get other laborers there. And POWs. Oh my god. I was like, there are some positions you don't take people out of because you need that work. Oh man. But that is exactly my point. That is exactly my point. Alright. See you next time. When we'll find out just what kind of sabotage they get up to, and it should be entertaining.